I knew something was wrong the moment Emily walked into the room. It wasn't the way she moved. I'd always loved how she moved, even now. Even when my heart was half-braced for bad news. It was the look in her eyes. Wild, excited, almost guilty, like a kid about to confess to a prank she secretly hoped you'd admire her for. She stood in front of me, hands fidgeting at the hem of her blouse, biting her lip the way she used to when we were first dating. Only this time, the butterflies in my stomach weren't from excitement. They were warning signs. "I've been thinking," she began, eyes wide, voice sweet. "That's never how good conversations start." "Okay," I said slowly, setting down my glass of whiskey. Her hands twisted together tightly now. "We've been in a rut, don't you think?" The sparks faded. "Emily," I said cautiously, "what are you trying to say?" "I think we should try an open marriage." The silence hit so hard I swore I could hear the ice melting in my glass. My chest locked up, as if my ribs were trying to trap the pain before it could reach my heart. "You're serious?" I said. She nodded. "It's not about not loving you. It's about excitement. Exploring. Reconnecting after rediscovering ourselves, you know?" She spoke in that soft, coaxing voice she used to get what she wanted. But I wasn't some barista forgetting her almond milk this time. I was her husband. The man who'd given her 12 years of loyalty, laughter, and love. I should have screamed, should have stormed out, should have said no fucking way. But instead, I sat there, frozen. A war raging behind my eyes. My pride screamed betrayal. But deeper down, there was another voice, the one afraid of losing her completely. So I nodded, slowly, coldly. "If that's what you need," I said, each word tasting like rusted nails, "then fine." Her eyes lit up like I'd given her a gift. She came over and kissed my cheek, soft, careful, undeserved. Then she disappeared upstairs like she hadn't just cut a wire and walked away from the bomb. I stared at the wall long after she was gone. That night, I lay in our bed with Emily curled up beside me, naked, breathing evenly. She'd kissed me more deeply than she had in weeks, whispering promises that this would make us stronger. We had sex, her touch more desperate than passionate, but I went along with it, pretending it was something other than what it was. A test, a goodbye, a cover for guilt. She fell asleep, tangled in the sheets, her bare thigh pressed against me. And all I could do was stare at the ceiling and feel the emptiness grow. At 2 a.m., I slipped out of bed and padded to my office. Something, anger, maybe instinct, made me reach for my laptop. I wasn't searching for porn. I wasn't looking for someone to talk to. I was looking to forget her, even for a moment. I opened Facebook out of pure habit, scrolled blankly. Then I saw the name. Megan Raines. High school bitch queen. Emily's old nemesis. The one who mocked her at prom, dated her college crush, and publicly humiliated her with that blog post senior year. Emily hated Megan. And for good reason. Megan had always had that confident, cruel edge that made people either want to screw her or punch her. The years had been kind to her. Too kind. Her profile pic showed those same icy green eyes, pouty lips, and black hair cascading over her bare shoulders. She still had that look. Like she'd fuck you just to ruin your life, and somehow make you thank her for it. I clicked. Her profile was public. Dumb mistake. Or maybe fate. Photos of cocktails, yoga sessions, cryptic quotes about liberated femininity, and one that caught my eye. A selfie in a red silk robe, barely tied, with the caption, "Some nights just call for wine and sin." I stared at that photo a little too long. My fingers hovered. I wasn't thinking clearly. Not with my heart, and definitely not with my brain. I clicked message. Typed, "Hey Megan. Long time. Didn't expect to see your face tonight." A few seconds passed. Then, well, I didn't expect a blast from Emily's past. "What brings you to my inbox, stranger?" And just like that, the match was struck. I smiled. A dark, slow smile. Emily wanted freedom? I'd give her a fucking masterclass in it. But not with just anyone. With Megan, the woman she hated most. Let the games begin. I didn't sleep that night. Even after Emily curled against me, her body warm and familiar, I lay there with the soft blue glow of my phone illuminating the storm that had started in my chest. Megan had responded. Not just with curiosity, but interest. The years hadn't changed her much. Still sharp-tongued, still beautiful in that wild, untamed way that made men ruin marriages and women sharpen knives. "We should catch up. Coffee. Or are you brave enough for something stronger?" She'd sent that around 3 a.m., punctuated with a smirking emoji and her number. I waited until the next morning to reply, needing to feel like I was in control. Truth was, control had left the building the moment Emily said the words open marriage. But I still had pride. And now, a plan. We met at a rooftop bar downtown, Emily's least favorite place, ironically. Too loud, too many hipster cocktails. I made sure to choose it on purpose. Megan arrived 10 minutes late, just as the sky turned orange over the skyline. She wore a short black dress and no bra, the fabric clinging in all the right places. I tried not to stare, but Jesus, it was hard. Wow, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. You clean up better than I remember. You were usually too busy tormenting my girlfriend to notice. She laughed. Fair. But I was young, mean, competitive. Still are. She leaned in, her perfume curling through the air like a promise. Depends on the stakes. Her gaze didn't waver, and for a second, I forgot why I'd come here. But only for a second. I think you know I'm married, I said. Oh, I know, she said, stirring her drink slowly. To Emily Thompson, valedictorian, cheer captain, future step-forward wife. You really hated her, huh? Her smile faltered, just a little. It wasn't hate. Not really. Just unfinished business. We were always circling the same spotlight. I wanted it for me. She acted like she didn't, but trust me, she did. There was a bitterness beneath her cool exterior. Something real. I didn't expect that. I thought I'd find a vindictive ex-queen bee with nothing but claws and cleavage. Instead, I found someone fascinating. So, why did you agree to meet me? I asked. Curiosity. No. Revenge. I blinked. She smirked. Kidding. Sort of. Honestly, I was bored. You were always the quiet one. The loyal one. That intrigued me. I raised a brow. And now? She looked me over slowly, letting her eyes linger in a way that made my skin heat beneath my shirt. Now I'm curious what made the loyal one reach out to the bitch from high school. Fair question. But I wasn't ready to give her the answer. Not yet. Instead, I leaned in and let the words slip out with just enough weight to make her blink. My wife wants an open marriage. That got her attention. Her red lips parted slightly, and for the first time, her confidence dipped. Just a beat. Then the fire came back. Well, she said. The golden girl wants to play dirty. I didn't reply. I just sipped my drink. Megan studied me. So let me guess. She brought it up. You said yes to prove you're cool with it. But deep down, you're pissed. More or less. And now you're thinking of sticking it to her in the most poetic way possible. You're awfully perceptive. She tilted her head. It's a gift. The next hour passed in a blur of drinks, confessions, and teasing glances that lingered a little too long. She talked about her failed engagement, her startup that fizzled out, and her love-hate relationship with nostalgia. I told her just enough to sound vulnerable but not weak. About how Emily and I had grown distant. About how it felt like she'd made a decision for both of us without asking. Megan listened. Really listened. That surprised me. But what surprised me more was the way her leg brushed mine halfway through the night and didn't move. The air between us shifted. Like the silence before a thunderstorm. I looked at her. Really looked. Not just the cleavage, the lips, the eyes, but the woman. Flawed. Brilliant. Still dangerous. She leaned in and whispered, "You don't have to pretend with me." I swallowed hard. Pretend what? That this isn't about sex. Her hand slipped under the table, fingers brushing my thigh like a dare. He'd shot straight to my core. This is about power, she whispered, her breath teasing my ear. Control. Taking back what she stole from you. I didn't stop her. I didn't pull away. Instead, I reached for her hand under the table, held it tight, and in that second, something twisted inside me. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. This was about me. About finding the fire I thought I'd buried years ago. When Megan kissed me goodbye, she didn't kiss my cheek. She kissed my mouth slow, deep, and filthy with a moan that made my spine arch. I stood there afterward, pulse racing, wondering how far I was willing to take this. The answer came quickly. All the way. It was supposed to be revenge. A single night. A lesson. A way to reclaim something that had been stolen from me when Emily casually dismantled the very foundation of our vows. That was the plan. But when Megan opened the door to her apartment that Friday night, wearing nothing but an oversized white button-down shirt and nothing underneath, the plan shattered before I even crossed the threshold. "Hope you're not the kind of man who needs dinner first," she purred, stepping aside to let me in. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. My eyes were glued to the curve of her hips, the way the soft fabric clung to her skin like a lover's touch. I stepped into her apartment and into something I hadn't expected: desire. Raw, hot, and addictive. Her place was nothing like Emily's meticulously curated, Pinterest-perfect home. Megan's space was chaotic, personal. Shelves of vinyl records stacked beside dog-eared books. A bottle of whiskey half-finished on the counter. A painting on the wall, abstract, angry reds and slashes of black, that looked like someone had painted it in a fury and never bothered to frame it. It was messy. It was real. It felt like the first breath I'd taken in months. She stepped in front of me, pressing her body against mine. "Still think this is a good idea?" "No," I murmured, already cupping the back of her thigh. "Good," she whispered, then kissed me like we were drowning, and the only way to survive was through heat and teeth and tongue. I didn't pretend to be the gentleman. I didn't try to play the part of the scorned husband looking for emotional comfort. We tore at each other like animals. Her shirt was gone in seconds, and there she was, every inch of her bared, her breath hot on my neck, her hands roaming with a confidence that made me ache. I shoved her up against the wall, mouth crashing to hers again, one hand tangling in her hair, the other sliding down to her thigh. She wrapped her legs around my waist like she'd been waiting for this moment since high school, and maybe she had. "You want to ruin her?" Megan gasped between kisses. "Then fuck me like you mean it." And I did. God, I did. Afterward, we lay tangled on her unmade bed, sheets kicked to the floor, sweat drying on our skin. Her head rested on my chest, fingers drawing slow circles just below my ribs. There was a strange peace in that moment. The kind that comes after a storm you never wanted but secretly needed. "You know," she said softly, "I never understood what Emily saw in you." I raised an eyebrow. "Thanks." "No. I mean, you always seemed safe. Predictable. Like the guy who'd bring a girl flowers and hold her purse at the mall." I laughed bitterly. "She married me for that." "I know," Megan said, lifting her head to look at me. "But now, I see the man behind the curtain, and I like him more." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I wasn't used to being seen. Not really. Not since the early years with Emily, when she used to look at me like I was the whole damn sky. Those days were gone. Now Emily came home smelling like cologne I didn't wear and excuses that didn't add up. She said things like, "I'm just figuring myself out. We can be better this way." Bullshit. She wasn't trying to find herself. She was trying to lose me, piece by piece, night by night. I turned to Megan, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "She doesn't know it's you." Her smile was sharp. "Even better. I haven't told her about us. About this." "You will. Eventually," I said. "Right now, I want her to feel what I felt. The confusion. The second-guessing. The fucking betrayal." Megan leaned over, kissed me softly this time. "Then let's give her a reason to wonder." Over the next 2 weeks, Megan and I became something I never expected. Insatiable. It wasn't just sex, though. God, it was incredible. It was the tension, the electricity, the way she laughed at all the wrong moments, the way she bit my lip when she came, the way she made me feel 25 again, reckless and unstoppable. I saw her every chance I got. Late lunches, fake work meetings, nights when Emily was trying something new with a guy from her Pilates class. Megan didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She knew exactly what we were doing. But what I didn't anticipate, what scared me, if I was honest, was how much I started to look forward to being with her. Not just the fucking. The silence, too. The way she'd lie across my chest, reading aloud from her old poetry books like it was the most normal thing in the world. The way she'd light a cigarette after sex and curl into my side, humming some tune from a forgotten indie band. It was easy, effortless, and that scared the hell out of me. Because I wasn't supposed to like her. I was supposed to use her. She was supposed to be a weapon, not whatever this was turning into. One night, after another round of tangled limbs and breathless kisses, Megan traced a line down my chest and whispered, "Tell me something real." I stared at the ceiling. "I don't think I can go back." "To her?" she asked. "To who I was." She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Then, with a wicked grin, she said, "Good. Because I wasn't done with you anyway." We fucked again, harder this time. Wilder. And when I left her apartment just past midnight, my phone buzzed with a message from Emily. "Had a fun night. Can't wait to tell you all about it. XO." I stared at it, then deleted it without responding. Because for the first time since Emily's little proposal, I didn't care what or who she did. All I cared about was Megan, and the next time I could taste her again. It was a Tuesday night when Emily's voice first cracked. Not yelled, not accused, but cracked. We were sitting in the living room. She had a glass of wine in one hand, her phone in the other, and that subtle tension in her shoulders that I'd come to recognize as a sign of discomfort. Or guilt. Or both. She was scrolling absently, pretending not to watch me while I replied to a text. Megan's name flashed across my screen. I had her saved as M. Rains, just enough to keep it unsuspicious, but I'd never been a good liar. Not really. Emily looked up at me, her voice casual. Who's Megan Rains? My heart skipped half a beat. I didn't flinch. I didn't look up. I just smiled and replied, blast from the past. We ran into each other online. You two were never close, though, right? She asked, sipping her wine too slowly. You remember high school better than I do, I replied. She messaged me. We grabbed coffee. Emily tilted her head. That all? I turned to face her, forcing a chuckle. What's with the interrogation? She held my gaze for a moment too long. No reason. Just odd, that's all. You haven't mentioned her in years. Not since that whole yearbook prank thing. People change. That seemed to satisfy her for the moment. But I saw the flicker behind her eyes. The slight narrowing. The corner of her mouth tightening just enough to register suspicion. Emily was starting to feel what I'd felt when she first floated the idea of an open marriage. Uncertainty. The kind of fear that slips in through the cracks and starts to rot the foundation. And God help me, I liked it. I was at Megan's place again the next night. We didn't even make it to the bedroom this time. She met me at the door in a silk robe and nothing else, pulled me inside by my shirt, and kissed me like she'd been holding her breath all day. We fucked on the couch, her legs over my shoulders, hands gripping the cushions, mouth open in a silent scream. It wasn't about revenge anymore. Not just that. There was something else building between us. Something messier. Dangerous. Afterward, I lay on my back, breathless, staring at the cracked ceiling paint while Megan lit a cigarette and climbed onto my chest. She suspects something, I muttered. Megan exhaled a slow stream of smoke. Let her. She asked about you. She raised an eyebrow. What did you tell her? That we had coffee. That all? For now. Megan tapped ash into a ceramic bowl on the floor. You afraid she'll put it together? I think part of her already has, I said. But she won't admit it. Because if she does, it means she has to face what this marriage has become. Megan studied me for a moment, then slid a hand down my chest. And what has it become? A cold war with orgasms, I said bitterly. She laughed, then sobered. You ever think about ending it? I looked at her. The marriage. She nodded. All the time. There was a long silence, broken only by the hum of traffic outside and the ticking of her wall clock. Megan leaned down and kissed my jaw. I know I was supposed to be just revenge. But what? I like you, she said quietly. More than I should. That knocked the wind out of me more than the sex ever did. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't feel it too, but because I did. And admitting it out loud felt like stepping off a cliff. Back at home, things with Emily were unraveling. She'd come back from a weekend trip to Palm Springs with that same glowy, post-fuck energy she tried to pass off as spa rejuvenation. She smelled like sandalwood and strange cologne. She tried to initiate sex, and I let her, but it was awkward. Mechanical. I couldn't stop thinking of Megan. Emily noticed. She lay next to me afterward, staring at the ceiling in silence before saying, You're different. Yeah, I murmured, my voice flat. You used to look at me like I was the only thing you wanted. Now she trailed off. I didn't respond. Because she was right. Over the next few days, the cracks widened. She asked more questions. Little ones at first. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? Then more pointed. One night, as I stood in the kitchen making coffee late, she walked in wearing nothing but a thin tank top and panties. She leaned against the counter and studied me. You're sleeping with someone, aren't you? I froze, spoon in midair. She didn't shout, didn't accuse, just asked. I turned slowly. Would that bother you? Emily swallowed hard. It would surprise me. Why? You're the one who wanted this. I didn't think it would happen so fast. You didn't think I would move on so fast. Her eyes shimmered. Not tears. Not yet. Just a glint of something close to pain. Is it Megan? I stared at her for a long time. Then said, What if it is? That landed like a gunshot. She stepped back, face twisting into something that was equal parts fury and humiliation. You're seriously fucking her? I didn't answer. Didn't have to. She stormed out of the kitchen. And for the first time in months, I felt something like justice. But it didn't feel as good as I thought it would. The next morning, Megan texted me. I dreamed about you last night. But in the dream, you weren't mine. You were still hers. I stared at the message for a long time before typing. I'm not hers anymore. The night it all came apart started innocently enough. Megan and I had plans to meet at a cozy little bar tucked away off Market Street. A place with moody lighting, low jazz, and strong drinks, intimate but not flashy, the kind of place you disappear into. We'd been growing more reckless, more visible, as the weeks wore on. Emily's suspicions had sharpened into something colder and more observant, but I didn't care anymore. That night, Megan showed up in a deep burgundy dress that hugged her curves like a second skin. No bra. A slit up the side that revealed just enough leg to make my jaw clench. Her eyes caught mine the moment she walked in. Green fire and mischief, a silent challenge. You keep looking at me like that, she said as she slipped into the booth across from me. And this night's going to end before the second drink. I didn't bring you here for drinks, I said, my voice low. She smiled. It should have been a perfect night. But fate's a twisted bastard. Emily wasn't supposed to be there. I triple-checked. She told me she had a girls' dinner across town. I wasn't expecting her to walk through the same bar doors an hour later, laughing beside a guy I'd never seen before, a tall, bearded hipster type with soft hands and empty eyes. At first, she didn't see us. She was too busy hanging on his arm, her laugh half a pitch too high, her fingers playing at the collar of his shirt like they were already halfway to his belt. I went cold. Then Emily froze mid-laugh. Our eyes locked across the dim bar. Her smile dropped. Mine didn't. Her gaze dropped to Megan. Recognized her instantly. And that's when the air cracked like a gunshot. Emily marched over. The guy she was with, clearly confused, clearly not used to seeing fury wrapped in a silk dress, followed at a safe distance. Megan, to her credit, didn't move. She just lifted her glass, took a slow sip, and gave Emily a look that said, "Try me, sweetheart." Are you serious? Emily hissed at me, ignoring Megan for the moment. Her? You're actually fucking her. The entire room shifted. Conversations dimmed. Heads turned. Megan arched an eyebrow. Nice to see you too, Emily. You have some goddamn nerve, Emily snapped. After everything you did in high school. The lies, the blog, the way you... Oh please, Megan cut in. That was over a decade ago. Grow up. We both know you've never gotten over it. Emily's hands clenched into fists at her sides. You're disgusting. I stood. Emily, don't do this here. Oh, don't do this, she laughed, a raw, biting sound. You've been screwing my enemy while I'm trying to salvage this marriage, and I'm the one being dramatic? You wanted an open marriage, I said evenly. This is me being open. With her. She spat. This isn't about sex. This is about revenge. You used her to get to me. Megan stood then, slow and deliberate. And maybe I let him, she said coolly, stepping closer. Maybe I enjoyed it. Maybe I enjoyed it so much that I didn't give a single fuck about what it did to you. Their faces were inches apart now, heat, hatred, and history colliding in the space between their breath. You always thought you were better than me, Megan whispered. But you weren't. You just had the right hair, the right smile, the right lies. And you've always been pathetic, Emily shot back. Jealous. Clinging to things you never had the courage to earn. Megan's lip curled. I earned him. Silence. For a second, the entire bar held its breath. Then Emily slapped her. The sound cracked across the room like lightning. Megan stumbled back, one hand flying to her cheek. She didn't cry, didn't shout. She just looked at me. And that was the moment I realized I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Not just because I'd slept with Megan, but because I'd felt something with her that I hadn't felt in years with Emily. And Emily saw it, right there in my eyes. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, complete. Emily stormed out. The guy she came with trailing after her, eyes wide and dumb. Megan sat down slowly, rubbing her cheek. Well, she muttered, that went better than expected. I couldn't even laugh. I dropped into the seat beside her, exhaling everything I had left. She knows now, Megan said softly. I nodded. She's going to come at you, she added. Hard. I know. Megan looked at me. Not with lust. Not with challenge. But something deeper. You ready for that? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't sure. Later that night, I got home to find Emily waiting in the living room. She hadn't changed clothes. Her heels were off, hair a mess, glass of wine clutched in one hand like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. You broke the rules, she said without looking at me. There were no rules, I replied. Yes, there were, she said, voice trembling. Unspoken, implied. Don't fuck the one person I hate most in the world. That's a pretty damn obvious rule. I sat across from her. You wanted to open the marriage. I wanted to save it, she snapped. Not burn it to the ground. You already lit the match, I said. I just decided to stop choking on the smoke. She went silent. Then, after a long moment, whispered, Did you love her? I hesitated. Then no. She stared at me. But you could. And in that moment, we both knew. Something was over. Something deeper than marriage. Trust. History. Hope. All shattered. And the worst part? I didn't even feel regret. Just relief. The silence after our confrontation was worse than the shouting. Emily and I existed in the same space, but we were ghosts, haunting the remnants of a life that once felt unbreakable. We spoke only when we had to. The rest of the time was filled with empty footsteps, clinking dishes, and the sound of two people avoiding eye contact at all costs. I slept in the guest room. She didn't stop me. And just like that, we stopped pretending. 3 days after the bar incident, she cornered me in the kitchen. No makeup, sweatpants, her hair pulled into a loose bun that looked like she didn't care if it fell apart. I want you to end it, she said, arms folded, leaning against the counter like she was bracing for impact. I looked at her, not bothering to play dumb. You want to close the marriage. I want you to end it with her. Megan, why now? Because this isn't what I wanted, she said, her voice rising. I wanted us to grow, to explore, not to, her hands trembled, not to fall in love with someone else. You thought you could open Pandora's box and keep the demons on a leash. Her eyes flashed. You used her to hurt me. Maybe at first, I admitted. But not anymore. She slammed her glass down on the counter. So you do love her. I didn't respond, which was as good as saying yes. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away before they could fall. Then choose, she said. Her or me. I stood there, chest tight, pulse thudding in my ears. We both knew the answer. But I said nothing. Not yet. Later that night, I met Megan at her apartment. I hadn't told her about the ultimatum. Not yet. I just needed to see her, to clear my head, or maybe to cloud it further. I wasn't sure anymore. She opened the door and read my face before I could speak. She gave you a choice, didn't she? I nodded. And you came here. Another nod. Megan let out a breath, long and heavy. I should feel victorious. You don't. No, she said quietly. Because I know what this is doing to you. She stepped back, let me in, and closed the door behind us. There was no hunger in her kiss this time. No wild passion or careless heat. Just warmth. Familiarity. A comfort I hadn't realized I was desperate for. We curled into each other on the couch. Her legs over mine. Her head on my shoulder. No sex. No games. Just being. Do you regret any of it? She asked after a long silence. Not 1 second. Even how it started? That's the part one regret the least, I said. Because it woke me up. She smiled softly, kissed my collarbone. Then why do I feel like I'm about to lose you? I swallowed hard. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to choose. You already know, she said. You just haven't said it yet. The next morning, I told her. I was ending it. Not because I didn't want her, but because I wasn't ready to blow up my whole life in one move. Megan didn't cry. She didn't scream or throw things. She just nodded, lips trembling, and said, I was right. I am the villain in her story. And maybe in yours, too. No, I said, taking her face in my hands. You're the only part that felt real. Then why are you leaving? Because I still think I can fix what's broken. She pulled away gently. You can't fix something when the foundation's already rotted. All you're doing is painting over the cracks. I left, and I hated myself for every step it took to walk away from her. Emily was waiting at home when I returned, standing at the kitchen island like she had a right to expect redemption. Well, she asked. It's over, I said. She let out a breath that sounded like relief, but it didn't reach her eyes. Good, she said. Maybe now we can start healing. But when she reached for my hand, I flinched. She noticed, and so did I. Because what neither of us had the courage to say out loud was this. The marriage had been mortally wounded long before Megan. All I'd done was expose the rot we both tried to ignore. Nights turned to weeks. We tried. God, did we try? Date nights. Counseling. Sex that felt like obligation wrapped in sheets that used to smell like love. But it was gone. the spark, the trust, the us. And in its place was a hollow rhythm of going through the motions. I found myself scrolling through old texts from Megan at night, her voice echoing in my mind. You can't fix something when the foundation's already rotted. She was right, and I hated her for it. But I hated myself more for ever thinking I could pretend otherwise. The beginning of the end didn't come with another fight. It came in the stillness. A month had passed since I ended things with Megan. Emily and I were trying on paper. We did all the right things. Therapy sessions filled with polite half-truths, movie nights where we pretended to laugh at the same jokes, awkward dinner conversations where we acted like silence didn't feel like drowning. But underneath it all, the tension hummed like a power line before it snaps. And I was tired of lying to myself. I missed Megan. Not just her body. Not just the chaos. I missed how she saw me. Not as Emily's husband. Not as a project to fix. But as someone worthy of being wanted without condition. One night, Emily came home late. Again. She said she was at a coworker's house. One of the women from yoga, apparently. I didn't ask questions. I didn't care. But I saw the way her hair was tousled, the way her lipstick had faded unevenly, the faint outline of where her bra had been removed and then put back on in haste. She caught me staring. What? She said, irritation laced in the edge of her voice. Nothing, I said, setting down my glass. Say it. I shook my head. I already know the truth. I've just stopped pretending it matters. She crossed her arms. You're still in love with her, aren't you? There it was. The question neither of us had dared to voice. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked at the woman I had married 12 years ago. The one who used to curl up beside me with her head on my chest and whisper dreams into the darkness. The one who once traced circles over my skin just to fall asleep. That version of her was gone. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe it was hers. But the version standing in front of me now? That was someone I didn't recognize anymore. Yes, I said finally. Emily's breath caught. So, what? Everything we've done since you ended it? It was all for show? No, I said softly. It was a genuine effort. But it made something very clear. What? That we're not fixing this. We're just prolonging the collapse. She sat down slowly, her hands gripping the edges of the chair like the floor might disappear beneath her. You said you ended it. I did. Then why does she still have you? I looked at her, long and hard. Because she never let me go. The next morning, I did what I should have done weeks earlier. I texted Megan. Me. I was wrong to leave you. Me. If you're willing to see me again, I'll be at the place. 8 p.m. I'll wait as long as it takes. No response. I didn't expect one. But I showed up anyway. The same rooftop bar. The same table where we'd first collided like a thunderstorm waiting to happen. The hours crawled. I ordered a drink. 2. My phone buzzed, but it wasn't her. Just work. Spam. Nothing that mattered. I was about to leave when I felt it. That unmistakable shift in the air. Perfume. Heels. A presence that wrapped itself around me like smoke. I looked up, and there she was. Megan. Same fire. Same bite. Same unreadable expression that always made me want to know more. You look like hell, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Feels about right. I wasn't going to come. Why did you? Because I hated how you left, she said. But I hated not knowing more. I swallowed. I miss you. She didn't smile. And I made the wrong choice. And now you want me back? No, I said. I want us back. If you'll have me. She looked out at the skyline, quiet for so long I thought she was going to leave again. Then, I'm not your rebound, you know. I know. And I'm not here to be your mistress. I don't want one. You're really leaving her? I already have. A long pause. Then Megan leaned in. And what if I don't want the man who had to be dragged here? You don't, I said. You want the man who finally chose you. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. But because I realized you see me in a way she never has. She stared at me, jaw tight. Then she exhaled and said 3 words I never expected to hear. Don't screw it up. I moved out of the house that weekend. Emily didn't fight me. She didn't cry. She just watched me pack, arms crossed, expression unreadable. You're going to regret this, she said. No, I told her. I already regret staying as long as I did. She flinched, but didn't reply. When I walked out the door, I didn't look back. Not once. Megan didn't welcome me like a savior. She didn't open her arms and wrap me in forgiveness. Instead, she gave me space. Let me earn back every piece of what I'd broken. And slowly, one night at a time, I did. We rebuilt something raw, imperfect, but real. It was no longer about revenge. It was about choosing a path with eyes wide open. 2 weeks after I moved in with Megan, Emily showed up at my doorstep. She didn't knock. She buzzed the intercom once, and when I answered, her voice came through sharp and cold. "We need to talk." Megan wasn't home. She was out meeting a friend for drinks, one of those rare nights when we gave each other space. I almost didn't let Emily in, but I knew it was time. Time to stop leaving things unsaid. Time to let everything rot in the light, not fester in the dark. I buzzed her in. She stepped inside like she still belonged in my world. Tight jeans, leather jacket, eyes rimmed with the kind of eyeliner that dared me to look away. But it wasn't the makeup that struck me, it was the exhaustion behind it. She looked worn, not physically, but emotionally, as if the last few weeks had finally caught up to her, like she'd spent every night trying to rewind the clock and failing. "You look different," she said, her gaze sliding across the room, Megan's art on the walls, the faint scent of jasmine from her perfume still lingering in the air. "You look tired," I said. She smirked. "Says the man who set fire to our marriage." "No," I said quietly. "You lit the match. I just stopped putting out the flames." Emily didn't argue. Instead, she walked past me and sat down on the couch, crossing her legs. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she said. "Opening things up. Then why does it feel like it was always about leaving?" She flinched. "Because I didn't want to feel trapped." "You weren't trapped, Emily. You were loved. You were safe." "Exactly," she snapped. "Safe. Predictable. Every day felt the same. Like I was slowly fading into some picture-perfect wife cliché. And I couldn't breathe. I sat down across from her. "So you decided to go find yourself between someone else's sheets." She didn't deny it. "Was it worth it?" I asked. "No," she said after a long pause. "It didn't feel how I thought it would. I wanted freedom. I ended up feeling lonelier than I ever did in our worst moments." "Then why keep going?" "Because I didn't want to admit I'd made a mistake. Not to myself. Not to you." I nodded slowly. "And now, I know it's over." She said it so simply, so clearly, that it actually stunned me for a second. For all her pride, all her denial, I never thought she'd actually say the words. "I didn't come here to ask you to come back," she added. "I know I've lost you, but I need to say this to your face." I waited. Emily's voice softened. "I was wrong. About everything. About thinking passion had to come from chaos. About assuming you'd never leave. About Megan. I made her out to be a monster, but the truth is, she just did what I gave her the space to do." "She didn't take me from you," I said. "You pushed me toward her." Emily looked down at her hands. "I know." A long silence passed between us. Then she looked up. Her eyes shimmered, not with tears, but with something else. Regret. Real, quiet, heavy regret. "I hope she makes you happy," she said. "She already does." Emily smiled, sad and small. "Then I guess you finally got what you wanted." "No," I said, rising from the chair. "I got what I never knew I needed." That night, Megan came home to find me sitting on the balcony, a whiskey in hand, staring at the stars. She slid into the chair beside me, folding her legs beneath her like she belonged there. "Company?" she asked. "Always." We sat in silence for a while. Then I told her everything. About Emily. The conversation. The apology. The final, clean break. "She's letting go," I said. Megan studied me. "And you?" "I let go the second you walked back into that bar." She smiled. But there was something in her eyes. Something cautious. Hesitant. "You sure about this? About us?" "Not just because she pushed you away." I turned to her, took her hand in mine, and said the only thing that truly mattered. "You didn't become the second choice. You became the only one that ever made sense." We made love that night with the windows open, the city lights pouring in, and the weight of the past finally off our backs. It wasn't wild. It wasn't angry. It was slow, intentional. Like we were stitching something broken back together, not with thread and hope, but with touch and trust. Afterward, as she curled into me, her head resting in the crook of my neck, she whispered, "You ever think about what would have happened if she never brought it up? The open marriage. All the time. And I think I would have kept pretending I was happy. You would have stayed a ghost from my past. And I never would have learned the difference between loving someone and being loved back. Divorce is never a single moment. It's a slow, steady erosion. 1,000 little cracks that widen until the foundation collapses under its own weight. Emily and I had been crumbling long before either of us admitted it. But now it was official. We sat across from each other in a quiet law office, her attorney on one side, mine on the other. The paperwork had been drafted, the terms reviewed. No yelling, no accusations, just a weary sort of resignation in her eyes and calm determination in mine. She didn't fight for more than what was fair. She didn't try to drag it out or make it ugly. In some twisted way, I think this was her way of giving me something back, freedom, maybe, or closure. When it was over, she simply looked at me and said, "Don't waste it." "I won't," I replied. That was the last time we spoke face to face. I moved into a loft with Megan 3 weeks later. It wasn't perfect. Nothing was. We were two people who came together through chaos and pain, trying to make sense of something real in the aftermath. But there was peace between us, unexpected, almost jarring. We cooked dinner most nights, laughed over bad movies, fought over what kind of plants to put near the windows, had sex against the wall and in the shower and sometimes in bed, slow and deliberate, like we were relearning each other every time. But it wasn't just passion that made it work. It was the way she never tried to fix me, the way she saw the scars and didn't flinch, the way she held me when I woke from dreams about the past, covered in sweat and guilt and second-guessing. "This is real," she said once, when I asked her why she stayed, even if it started in the wreckage. "Especially because of that," she said. "You learn the most about someone when they're broken. And I still chose you." One afternoon, I got a text from Emily. Just a photo. A beach. Her feet in the sand. A dog by her side I didn't recognize. Below it, "Starting over. Thought you'd like to know." No sign-off. No follow-up. I stared at the image for a while, unsure how to feel. Then I smiled. Not because I missed her, but because, for the first time, she looked free too. We were finally no longer tied by guilt or nostalgia or the fantasy of who we used to be. We were just people, trying to get it right the second time around. Megan and I sat on the floor that night, a bottle of wine between us, talking about everything and nothing. The topic turned, naturally, to how it all began. "You really messaged me to piss her off?" she asked, half laughing. "At first, yeah," I admitted. "But then you showed up in that little black dress and ruined the plan." She grinned. "So I seduced the seducer." "I think we seduced each other," I said, pulling her into my lap. "Then we just stopped pretending it was about anyone else." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Does it ever scare you?" "What?" "How easy it is now, compared to before." "Not scary," I said. Grateful. The final divorce papers arrived 2 days later. I didn't throw a party. Didn't post anything about it. Just opened the envelope, signed where I needed to, and walked outside to find Megan watering the plants she once insisted we didn't need. She looked up. "All done?" she asked. I held up the signed page. "Then we're really free," she said. I walked over, kissed the top of her head, and said the words I'd wanted to say for months. "No, baby. We're just getting started." 6 months later, I barely recognized the man I used to be. That tight, anxious version of myself. The one who walked on eggshells in his own home, who mistook routine for stability and silence for peace. He was gone. Not erased. Not forgotten. But evolved. Because pain doesn't vanish. It transforms. And somewhere in the middle of that painful, burning metamorphosis, I found myself. Or maybe I just stopped pretending. Megan and I moved again. Not far, just a few miles down the coast, into a beachside townhouse with sunlight in every room and a little back patio where she could grow herbs and sip coffee barefoot. The kind of place where the walls didn't carry old echoes. The kind where the air felt like permission to breathe. We still had our rough days. We were two people who had collided in the messiest way imaginable. But the difference now? We talked. We didn't bury things beneath smiles or empty rituals. When she got quiet, I didn't ignore it. When I pulled away, she reached in. There was no script, no performance, no obligation, just truth. And a quiet kind of joy that came from choosing each other every single day. Emily eventually reached out again. This time, it was a real message. Longer. Thoughtful. Asterisk, "I'm seeing someone new. Nothing serious. But he makes me laugh. And I've realized I used to be angry at you for not being the man I imagined in my head, instead of loving the man who was right in front of me. I hope she's good to you. I hope you're happy. Thank you for the years we had, even if the ending hurt." Asterisk. I stared at that message for a long time, then wrote back. Asterisk, "I am happy. And I hope you are too. We didn't fail. We just grew in different directions. And maybe that's okay." Asterisk. I didn't need closure anymore. That message wasn't an open wound. It was a scar. Smooth. Healed. Proof I'd survived. That weekend, Megan and I took a trip up the coast. No agenda. Just open roads, warm wind, and the kind of easy silence that comes when you don't need to fill every moment with words. We pulled over by a cliffside overlook, waves crashing below, the sky stretched out like a promise, and she turned to me with a playful smirk. "So, if we had met under normal circumstances," she said, "do you think we still would have ended up here?" "Not a chance," I grinned. "You would have found me boring. I would have thought you were dangerous." She laughed. "I am dangerous. You still are." She slid her hand into mine. And yet, here we are. We sat there for a while, not saying much, watching the tide roll in. She laid her head on my shoulder. "I don't want perfect," she whispered. "Just real." "You've got it," I said, and meant every word. Sometimes I think back to the night Emily said, "Let's open the marriage." That moment felt like a grenade then. But now, I see it for what it really was. The start of something necessary. The crack in the dam that finally let everything out, the fear, the boredom, the quiet resentment. It hurt. God, it hurt. But sometimes it takes fire to clear the underbrush. Sometimes a relationship has to burn down so something truer can rise from the ashes. This story didn't begin with love. It began with betrayal. But love is where it ended. Not the polished, made-for-TV kind, but the kind you build when you've seen each other's worst and still choose to stay. The kind that isn't afraid of the past, because it knows the future was born in it. Megan presses a kiss to my jaw, her hand on my chest, her laughter trailing off into the wind. "Tell me something," she says. "What? Do you ever miss her?" I shake my head slowly. "No." "You sure?" "I miss who I thought she was," I admit. "But not her." "And me. You're the part of the story I never saw coming," I say. She smiles. "I think that's my favorite kind.